Hello dearies, welcome to the craft kitchen. So in my last haul video I was telling you that you can color your embossing powders, your clear or white or whatever embossing powders yourself, and today I'm going to show you actually. It's quite easy and really not any more of a mess than heat embossing itself. So you will have some powder maybe. I still do have here. it's glittery. Well, it is what it is. So on my last shopping trip I bought these three. I'm quite satisfied with the Ranger embossing powder named Bubbly. Still don't know what the name means. This one turned out more yellowish golden than shown here, which is perfectly normal because you're melting plastic to get your embossing, and of course the color changes. I mean, there are types of clear plastic that turn white industrial wise, so not at home, but if you are heating up plastic particles or granulated plastic, sorry, the color most of the time will change. And yeah, this one I was so caught by this color here that I didn't read. It is clear matte dull. Yeah, well, I love the fact that it's matte, but it's clear. So for now I'm not going to recolor this matte embossing powder, but I do have a huge pot of this clear gloss superfine from Wow. Also here the small container. So basically this is my refill because these smaller containers are much more easy to handle. We need embossing powder, clear or white, doesn't matter. So I'm using superfine. Fine would totally do. I've been doing this as well. Then of course you will need some sort of containers to refill your fill in your mixed powder. So this is a glass jar from an advent calendar, tea advent calendar. In this one I bought some stone beads for jewel making, I guess it was. Then this one came with a vacation set, you know, with these spray bottles and these bottles you put in your hand cream and whatnot. And I guess this is supposed to put in some facial cream. I have no idea. So I do have two of those left because I only needed two of the spray bottles. And this one is a glass jar my hubby brought from work. So yeah, something with a lid that just closes and it's not too big. Of course, if you are recoloring this, you will need a bigger container, but that'll do. And then a bowl, a sort of scraper. I'm using this here, and then you need something for mixing. I'm just using this chopstick I usually use to mix up my acrylic paints, you know, the painters paints, and sometimes forget. And the magic happens with eyeshadows. Yes, eyeshadows. So I got this when volunteering for the German food banks. Every volunteer got this for Christmas. Yeah, and I'm absolutely not for decorative cosmetics, so I got, I don't know, this and 3 or 4 others. So these palettes for of eyeshadows and mascara and kajal and whatnot, even nail polish. I had a lot to give away for Christmas for the more younger teenage girls in our family, and for this I had no use until I figured out I'm not going to buy different colored embossing powders, or I don't want to, because let's say I need green. I made myself some green embossing powder quite a while ago, and as you can see the color is quite different from what's in here. Let's say I need some green for only one project, and then yeah, I do have like this for €7, or this for €4, and I don't use it anymore. Doesn't make any sense to me. So I've been experimenting, and I guess, yeah, this is what you will also have to do for the tiniest bit. I'm so sorry. So first of all, I want to put something on my mat, because like I told you, there's already glitter here. Because, of course, to these eyeshadows, there's added some glitter here and there. But basically, eyeshadows are nothing but pressed, really hard pressed mica powders. So, well, in Germany, there's added a bit of a moisturizing sort of ingredient. Has to, by law, but that doesn't matter. It melts anyway. So yeah, basically pressed mica. That means you also could use, of course, craft micas, so mica powder for this. I tried this. Also, the problem with the mica powder is that the particles, the mica particles, are much more fine than the eyeshadow. Well, I guess if the mica for the eyeshadow would be that fine, you couldn't get it off that easy, not even with oil. So let me get something to protect my mat first. So you want to start with a smaller amount of your heat embossing powder, but not too less, because it is not too easy to scrape off just the tiniest bit off of here. So maybe, yeah, I guess this is about 1 teaspoon, I'd say. And now I'm trying to scrape off really just the tiniest bit of my eyeshadow. So it's really not even a knife tip. So I'm going to sort of mix this in, and yeah, mixing this in thoroughly, trying to press down the lumps in here. I don't know about other countries. Well, I know about the Netherlands and France, because in Europe always there has to be a nurturing component in the powder. Let me get something else here to mix this. This is just one of these wooden pieces I painted with acrylic paint, because I'm using this to mix glue and paint and whatnot. So I'm trying to get out the lumps here, but I already can see this wasn't enough, because yeah, it has taken on the tiniest bit of a green shadow, but really it's not even sage green. So I'm going to scrape off a little bit more. Like so. And again, mixing. Well, for some reason I'm mixing in a bit of this bronzy color I've been using to give my acrylic paint a bit of a shimmer, but That's quite all right. I mean, this is used for junk journaling, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It would be sort of ridiculous if it would be perfect, right? So now I do have this light, really light green, and I am going to test this because the clear embossing powder, the clear heat embossing powder is white. And mixing white with this, what's this sort of green? Here it says grasshopper. Well, with this grasshopper color, of course it turns out very, very light. But that doesn't mean that in the end, when it's heated up, it looks the same. Just like you can see this here. This looks really grayish in the jar, and it's actually shamrock. Sparkling shamrock. This green down here. So yeah, don't use too much, because with this green, I've tried this the first time and I added way too much of the eyeshadow. So yeah, I do have a lot left because I had to add, yeah, really a lot of my embossing powder. So, and I don't care if there are some tiny darkish lumps in here, but I don't want my embossing powder to be lumpy. So shaking this up, and now let's give it a try. So for testing your mixture, you really would like to use a more bold stamp, like maybe this, with some additional fine lines. So this number 3, or here the 6, would be perfect. Or something like one of those letters. I mean, there are no really fine lines, so yeah, just try it twice. So a bit more bold stamp, and I'm actually going to, yeah, really use this one later. This is really fine writing. I guess what also would work would be, let's see, maybe this one here, because here around the 7 there's a bit of a, yeah, it's all stamped in the end, and all the other things around here are quite fine. Let's see, do we have another one? Yeah, well, I guess this would do as well, but let me take a look. This is quite a fine dotted line. I don't know how many of the how much of the embossing powder would stick to this. No idea. So maybe let's use this one, because this is quite a big stamp. And you would use up a lot of your testing powder before you even know if it's the right color, right? So I'm going to be using this one, really tiny. And yeah, for the first stamping, you don't want to use, or the first test, you don't want to use a really fine stamp. You just want to see how the color turns out. So, I forgot to get out my embossing ink pad. There it is. So, and my Pro tool here. And for testing, of course, I'm just going to be using a waste sheet. What's this? The packing list for our cat food. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to use this side. So, it's quite exciting, isn't it? Woo! And tiny. But yeah, like I told you, I don't want to use up too much of my test powder. So let's give it a try. And I'm not going to put this in a jar yet because I do have this sort of spoon. I guess it's actually a scraping tool for baking, you know, for decorating your fondant. So let's see. Is there enough powder? Well, it turns out it's already greenish. So I'm going to heat this up, and I'm actually going to mute the video for this because I'm using heavy machinery. Because no, I just don't buy an extra heat gun when we do have this. I got this from the workshop. We had this stored down there because we've been using it for heating the paint on our door frames. So why not use it in my craft room? I mean, how often do you scrape off the paint from your door frames? Well, it's already turning out quite nice. But I just realized it's turning quite great because I forgot to clean my stamp. So there, actually is some black ink left on here. So let me get some alcohol and clean this. And it seems I've heard some of you screaming when I was saying the word alcohol. You are absolutely right. Using alcohol on rubber stamps, I don't recommend this because the alcohol will definitely dissolve the rubber sooner or later. Well, it's artificial rubber, so it contains a bit of alcohol, but this rubber is porous, so the alcohol can just seep in there. Using alcohol for cleaning your silicone stamps, perfectly okay, but please don't do it on the rubber stamps. Only if it's absolutely necessary. If you do have StayOn ink on here, which of course you can't get off with, let's say, baby wipes or glycerin wipes, just get some stamp cleaner, please. I mean, those are really expensive. Well, yeah, as expensive as silicone stamps nowadays, I guess, but you don't want to kill them with alcohol, right? So, although I had to clean off the black ink here, I already can see this is still a bit too light for my liking. So I'm going to add a bit more of my eyeshadow. So here we go. Here I do have a really nice light green color. So yeah, tending to be a bit more sage. And as you can see, it's really still lighter than this, but I don't want to have this color. Of course not. And when I'm satisfied with the shade of my color, I just take this and I guess this is too small. It looks big on the outside but tiny on the inside, so yeah, no TARDIS at all. So I had to rearrange my camera setting because I'm filming this on my phone, with my phone, and the program for the camera is very simple. Yeah, let us put it this way, and I can't turn off the autofocus. So I just realized my camera tried to focus like every 10 seconds, and I'm sorry. So I hope it will work now. So the reason I was making this green embossing powder is because I want to stamp some letters on this protection paper. I think this turned out really, really nice. And I wanted to have a more, yeah, yellowish contrasting green to this purple. But I also want to use this darker green here on this. And I'm just going to stamp, for now, some letters on here. And then let's see how this will turn out. To be honest, when I pulled out this paper, again, I realized I really had to add more of the green eyeshadow, because I really like this grayish green, but it wouldn't be that visible on here, right? So yeah, I added more of the green. So let's see how this will turn out. So I guess, no, I think these turned out quite nice, both colors. They are not that different, but from my angle I can see this is more bluish and this is more yellow. Both quite nice. And yeah, of course it's more of an embossing glaze, because I've been using clear embossing powder for this and then added the color. If you add more of the eyeshadow, of course it will get more opaque, but at some point it won't look that nice anymore. So yeah, I'm going with the glazes. I don't think this would work with white embossing powder because, yeah, like I told you, the color of the eyeshadow wouldn't be embedded in the white particles, just sort of surrounding them. So the melted particles of the embossing powder would enclose the colors, would look very different. You could give it a try and tell me how it looks, because I don't use white embossing powder. So yeah, glazes. This is more of a glaze, and I really love how the colors turned out and how they look here on my sheet. Yay! These are going to be dangles. So, and I've been using the watermark stamp pad for this all the time, the whole time. So let's assume you do have a print already on your paper, on your journal page, for example, or your tag, and you want to emboss this picture. You would use an embossing pan for this, right? Wrong. I'm going to show you something else. So let's see. I'm very sure we can find something in here to emboss. Ah, perfect. So let me take out this signature. Where is my elastic? There. Easier to work with. So actually was the first page. So I think the color scheme of this is quite nice, but this one down here, the butterfly is shiny and also has some gold on it, but this die cut flower is just dull. So I'm just going to clear emboss this because I like the color outcome of this, and only, yeah, really clear embossing powder. So what you need is some glycerin, actually really just glycerin. The watermark stamp pads are filled with glycerin, a mix of glycerin and water. Some are really only glycerin. I'm not going to put this to the test, so I'm not adding water to my glycerin here, because I inked this up with way too much, with distress oxides, and actually the glycerin trick works really fine on inkjet printed pictures as well. I'm using a, what's it called? An Eco Tank from HP, and these inks are, yeah, very well known for being very fuzzy. So only the tiniest drop of water will discolor the footprints. I am not that exact today, so I will have some of my embossing powder, yeah, next to my die cut, but it is what it is. Yeah, of course you could you could just press your die cut to your stamp pad before gluing it down, but I just forgot. You know, I do have a long list on a chalkboard on my fridge right behind me, but yeah, actually it's behind me, where I wrote down the materials I don't use that often, or of which I do have a lot and I have to use them up. But yeah, reading this I would have to turn. So yeah, I always forget. So with this I'm just going to do this afterwards. And no, you don't need an embossing pan for this, just a bit of glycerin and a brush. Actually you could fill just some glycerin into your water tank brush, but this one I've chosen to use right here at my desk, so I have this available at any time, because for some reason it's clogged. No water coming out of here. So yeah, and also I can use this without any problems, because the tip is already ruined, or already came ruined. So I painted glycerin all over. Now I'm going to add some clear gloss superfine powder. This will make quite a mess here on my page, but I'm going to brush this off with a paintbrush later. Oh, I need something to fill this in. I can't just leave it like this, can I? Oh well, I could, but this would look very weird. So, trying to get my powder off, hopefully. And I'm also going in with a soft brush, paintbrush. I can't see any powder on here, of course I can't, because it's super fine, but just going to remove the embossing powder where I think there might be some powder stuck. So going to heat set this. So added a bit of shine here as well, so I do have the shine here repeating, or this shine here repeating on here. It's not as shiny because I would have to actually heat emboss this a second time, but I like how this turned out. And as you can see, hopefully can see here, the discoloration of the distress oxides stayed as it was before. I really like it. Let's see, I guess I do have another example for you. So where is it? Because if you add embossing powder to or heat embossing to a butterfly, I did this here. Wait a second, I know there's another one, but I don't know where. Found it! So actually it's a moth, not a butterfly. So when you heat emboss the wings of your butterflies or, don't know, your dragonflies and moths and whatnot, they will curl up. And if you do this twice, then the wings will stay slightly banded in the end and will look more organic, right? Well, I could have pressed this fuzzy cut moth to my watermark stamping pad before, but yeah, like I told you, I always forget. So yeah, I'm going to do this now, again with my brush and the glycerin. I don't know if you can see this. I hope, I very much hope you can. So the wings, oh yes you can, the wings of my moth are curling up to the inside, and even if I close my journal and let it sit on the shelf for, I don't know, a few months, they will still be a bit curled like this. I just love it. I don't know if you have to do this 2 times, it's just what I do. Maybe once would do. I do have the powder all over. What was I about to tell you? Right. And as you can see, like I told you, I've been using an HP ink EcoTank printer for this inkjet. No discoloration of the paper whatsoever. So of the print. I love it. That's because glycerin is not water, it's actually oil. So it stays on top of the paper. Well, it will eventually it will seep into the paper, of course, but for this, oh, they feel just great. I love it. So I have to let this sit for, let's say, half an hour before I close my book again. So the paper and the embossing is really cooled down. So then this will stay like this. I love it. No embossing pen, right? But what I did, ooh, I've, like always, sewn my signatures with waxed thread. Yeah, I heated up the wax on my thread. So it's seeping the tiniest bit here. Yeah, it is what it is. I was very careful to not have any, like, you know, sort of plastic, like this boo-boo tape next to my butterfly, to my moth. But yeah, okay. It's grunge. It's quite alright. Yeah, and using what you have is, yeah, sort of my motto, I'd say. Well, not only for crafting, but also in my everyday life, because that's how I grew up, and I don't see a reason why I should change this now that we have more money, because using what you have and kind of like working around, yeah, standard workarounds. It's really satisfying, I'd say. Well, you don't get the outcome like you would with, yeah, for example, embossing glazes, so the real board ones. But since this is junk journaling, they don't have to look perfect. By the way, having sort of this hand brush next to you when crafting is a really good idea, not only when working with embossing powders. This is an old painter's brush, very soft one, wall painter's brush for putting on really thin wallpaper to your wall. Yeah, use what you have. So in the spirit of this, I'm going to make let's say, a small series about what I've been using when I first started, because I didn't have that much money to buy all the fancy stuff. I didn't even have a color printer. So, yeah. But I wanted to make those junk journals. When I first saw Louise Heinzel and Eva from Bohemian Crafting, I got so hooked up with the idea, I was keeping every bit of paper I could get my hands on. So yeah, the next mini-series will be about using what you have for starting junk journaling. And also this will be my addition to Margaret's and Tony's challenge for August. 3 in 30 minutes. Yeah, that's a real challenge for me. Not 3, but 30 minutes. So we're going to make a junk journal with what most of you might have. Well, there will be some things that I bought quite soon when I first started making junk journals, because they're making your life a lot easier. And yeah, I also will show you what I used instead, but please bear with me when I'm not going to be using my sort of makeshifts anymore. Because yeah, they worked, but some things are simply not that easy to replace, right? So I really hope I could give you some tips with this embossing powder today. And of course, I hope to see you again when I'm starting to make just a standard journal. Yeah, sort of, with what you might have at home. So until then, stay creative and be excellent to each other. Bye!